Welcome to Teaching Truth. It was on the 20th of May 1880 that the then Prince of Wales and the then Duke of Cornwall laid the foundation stones of Truro Cathedral amid great pomp and circumstance. However, at that time there was a good deal of local opposition to the new building. Many residents lost their homes to make way for that great cathedral. It was in that bittersweet context that for Christmas Eve that year, 1880, Edward White Benson, the first Bishop of Truro, devised a new service, the 9 Lessons with Carols. His intention in doing that was to at least partly keep his flock from enjoying too much of the wrong kind of festive spirit in the local pubs in Truro on Christmas Eve. And so, taking 9 biblical passages from the Old and from the New Testament, he interspersed them with various carols, hymns, and 3 anthems from Handel's Messiah. For unto us a child is born, there were shepherds abiding in the field, and the Hallelujah chorus, all with the intent of telling the Christmas story. The 9 Lessons and Carol service, which took place in Truro Cathedral on Christmas Eve 1880, began by setting out mankind's need for a Redeemer. The first lesson recounting Adam's original sin in eating an apple from the tree from which God had commanded him not to eat. The account of Jesus' birth is from St. Luke's Gospel, and the final readings focus on what his birth means for us and what his birth meant then for the people in Truro in 1880. Benson, the Bishop of Truro, also decided that the first reader of that first lesson should be a humble chorister, each subsequent one progressing through the cathedral hierarchy up to the bishop, a tradition which continues to this day. The 9 Lessons and Carol service, which started in Truro Cathedral on Christmas Eve 1880, was an immediate success. Truro's citizens packed into the temporary wooden shed that stood as their cathedral for 7 years while Pearson's building, the cathedral itself, was constructed. Not only was it a satisfying format liturgically, but also theologically. It tapped into the carol revival that was prevalent in late Victorian England and had strong roots particularly in the southwest of England. It also brought the community together at an unsettling time in Truro as they awaited the birth of their new cathedral, and it pulled in people who would otherwise have been in the local pub. The 9 Lessons and Carols service quickly travelled beyond Cornwall, but it was Cambridge's King's College, with its celebrated choir and grandiose and Gothic setting, that really put 9 Lessons and Carols on the map. Eric Milner White, the Dean of King's College, Cambridge, took up the service in 1918, making a few changes. Once in Royal David City became the opening hymn, its first verse sung by a solo treble, a practice that is now ubiquitous. Milner White composed and added his celebrated bidding prayer, and he rethought the lessons, perhaps most notably moving the famous opening of St. John's Gospel, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, from the 7th reading to the 9th reading, where it makes a rousing climax. 10 years later, in 1928, the BBC broadcast the King's service on the radio, and they have done so every year since. And it's now shown on BBC television just before Christmas. No Christmas is ever truly complete without 9 lessons and carols from King's College, Cambridge. Its grandiose and Gothic setting is perfect for such a magnificent service. And over the next 9 days, starting tomorrow and working our way up to Christmas Eve, we're going to read and reflect briefly on each of the 9 lessons as we anticipate the joy and the reality of the birth of Christ and Christmas Day. Join me tomorrow in Teaching Truth as we unpack the first lesson in 9 lessons and carols.